Hi, my name is Burnham and I'm here in Florida looking at the brand new Sea Ray L550, and it really is brand new. This boat was launched literally 3 weeks ago, and you really get a feeling with this boat that Sea Ray have thrown absolutely everything at it. The detailing that goes into this is phenomenal, and it starts right here on the bathing platform. We've got a high-low platform, that's nothing new. A neat trick is steps that fold out as the platform goes down, so you've got access in and out of the water very easily. But what is great is the lazarette, which they put access from here rather than from the cockpit sole. And what you have in here, and you'll notice how well balanced this is, you can literally let go of it and it just stays there, is a tremendous amount of storage for everything from your deck gear, like your ropes and your fenders, to even things like dive gear. And it really makes for a very, very practical feature. Now moving up into the cockpit again, there's some very clever features. One of the things I particularly like is the fact the seating doesn't just run across the back. It runs up the side of the boat as well, which makes it very sociable, and there's a massive table just here that opens out, so you've got plenty of room for dining. But despite that going up the side of the boat, it doesn't get in the way of actually accessing your side decks. You've got really big chunky steps on either side and nice wide side decks heading forward, and there's a particularly useful feature about that, as I'll show you in a moment. But before we do that, another thing I'll mention is the small doors either side, and what Sea Ray have done is they've put tread plates on those, so if you're stepping over from the side, off of a dock for example, you're not walking any sharp stones to the bottom of your shoes into the GRP, and better yet, they've actually put the filler caps underneath those. So this is why these side decks are so important, and these rails, these lovely high rails, work so well because of this area here, which I think is probably one of my favourite areas of the whole boat. Now, forward-facing seating on a foredeck, that's been done before, but Sea Ray have taken this to the next level because they've added further seating around the bows to make a wonderful three-sided cockpit up here. And in fact, there are backrests that lift out of there and make for a really comfortable social area. There's storage for this table that tucks away up here, and there's a bimini top that will go over all of this, and that fits away inside here. And moving on to the interior of the boat, there's a lovely, warm, big-hearted American feel to this, with things like the breakfast bar we've got here and these lovely bar stools here. And the galley itself is back aft. It's a huge galley area, and of course it caters equally for the cockpit as well as it does for this big, comfortable saloon area up ahead of me. But what has changed a little bit, and it's true of the L650, which I did a couple of years ago, is Sea Ray have really raised the game in terms of the quality of the finish and the quality of the woodwork, so it feels much more in tune with sort of European boats that we're used to over in Europe. Now down here on the lower level, things are pretty much as you'd expect. It's a 3-cabin layout with a VIP guest cabin forward, that's got ensuite access to the day heads, and then you've got a third cabin with side-by-side beds which can slide together to make a double. But the cabin that impresses me the most is this mid-cabin. Now of course we're used to seeing full beam owners cabins on boats like this, but what Sea Ray have done is rather than having the bed central, they've tucked it into the corner, and that really feels like it's freed up a lot of space in here. This means there's space, for example, for the settee here rather than on the side, and that in turn means you've got space for plenty of storage over here. And that means that in the forward bulkhead, the space you perhaps would use for storage there, you've got room for a washing machine and a dryer if you want it, and there's also a wardrobe there. But again, a bit like the saloon, one of the things I would point out is the attention to detail. So things like this lovely backlit metal sculpture here, the way they finished these areas here, it's a real lift over what we're used to from the American manufacturers. Now the last thing to do is take this boat to sea, and one thing I'll mention about the helm is these wonderful STID multi-adjustable seats, which mean you can get a really good helm position here. But before we go out, there's one last thing to show you. Sea Ray have really put everything into the digital switching on this boat. Now digital switching itself is nothing new, being able to switch things electronically, but the interface on this is fantastic. They've really given it a lot of thought. And let me give you a very quick overview of how that works. Okay, so this I think is really clever. what Sea Ray have done is tried to simplify all the systems on the boat in a similar way that you might have on an iPad, so everything is menu driven. So for example, you want to see how much fuel you've got, you press fluids and immediately you've got all your tanks, fuel, water, macerator, and you can even activate fuel transfer from here. You can go into climate over here and you can choose any zone on the boat and adjust the temperature. You can even go into presets over here and you can decide, for example, if the boat's been locked up for a while, it's a very hot day, you can just literally hit max AC, it'll turn everything onto full, cool the boat as fast as possible, or indeed maximum heat if you happen to be in Britain. Lights, same sort of thing, you can adjust them to individual levels, or there are presets for things like romantic dinner or movie time where it sets the lights up for those. One thing I like, you've got wipers on here, but they haven't forgotten putting proper manual buttons on as well, so you don't have to dial into this every time you want to put the wipers on, you can just hit the button. Now, a couple of very clever features of this is the fact that you can operate this from any screen. So there's one of these on the flybridge, you can be up there, nice day out, you come back into port, you could whack up your air conditioning, put your lights on to a dimmer mode and have everything set up so when you come downstairs it's exactly how you want it. But more than that, you can interface this through an iPad or an Android device, and that means that you can activate this from anywhere on the boat. So you can have your iPad by your bed down in the master cabin, and all of this stuff is there for you to see and for you to operate. Right, very last thing I promised before we head out, flybridge. Helm position is up here, of course, and another L series feature on the Sea Ray is having sunbeds forward of the helm. So if you've got kids out sunbathing, they're in front of you, you can see where they are. Big dining table up here. This is a nice touch. There's a forward-facing seat, the backrest slides, so it becomes part of the dining area, and there's a wet bar up here. And the hard top up here, that's standard. Right, that's enough of the boat. Let's see where it drives. So we've got the Caterpillar C12.9 engines in here. They're a brand new unit, and as you'd expect, they are 12.9 litres each. They're a straight six and they're turbocharged. So as we open the throttle, there's a little bit of delay till those turbos kick in, which they do at about 1600 RPM, and then she's up and she's running. It's a very quiet boat and very steady. The noisiest thing we've got up here is the sound of the water peeling off the hull. I drove the boat downstairs earlier, and it's much quieter down there as you'd expect. But this is a nice place to be. You've got terrific visibility, plenty of seating for everybody, and it's just a nice, comfortable place to be. If you put the boat into a turn, well, it's exactly what you'd expect from a shaft drive twin diesel flybridge boat. Turns nice and steady, not particularly exciting. It just answers the helm and curves itself into a respectable turn. What this boat is about really is cruising. She tops out at about 29 knots, but where we are there, that's about 2000 RPM, and that's really, really comfortable. The other thing that I will say is that this is boating in Florida in December. It is phenomenally warm, it is absolutely stunning. We've had clear blue skies all day, and I'm not coming home until it warms up a bit in Britain.